Hello, good day, greetings, ciao, namaste, and salams to peeps from all around the world. Welcome to The Live. Now, this particular series is called the Impact 2.0 Show. This show features purpose-led leaders who are making a meaningful impact through their work and touching and changing lives of many. Stick around till the end, and I promise you that you'll walk away with at least one, if not more, practical yet scrumptious takeaways from each of these live sessions, like an ice cream sundae topped with heavy whipped cream, melted dark chocolate, and a dash of gold dust. But most importantly, if you turn up live, you'll get a chance to ask each guest questions that are bugging you like an itch that can't be scratched. Now, my today's guest believes that the purest human need is to be known, and it's EQ that will get us there. She believes that humanity and empathy are needed daily at work and in our personal lives, especially now while facing today's challenges. She says employees are human first, and somewhere along the line, we forgot about this. And that's where she comes in as a role of Chief Heart Officer with Vaynermedia. She's made it her purpose to bring empathy to organizations, create a feeling of belonging, and celebrate joy. All with one goal in mind: make people love their jobs more every single day, even during a period of quarantine. So will you please put your virtual hands together to welcome my fantabulous guest, Claude Silver.
Hi.
All right, Claude, how are you doing?
I'm great. That was a phenomenal intro. Thank you.
Well, you deserve it. It's all you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Now, before we get into the cheese and mac of the conversation, we are going to start off the show with a quick fire round. Are you ready, Claude?
Born ready.
Let's go. If you could guest star in any TV show, what would it be and who would you play?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Oh my God, that's so good. All right, Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
Schitt's Creek. I would want to be David because it's so not my personality that I would give it a shot and be David. Schitt's
totally
Creek all the way.
Schitt's Creek all the way. Got it. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Two things. I wanted to be a philanthropist until I learned that you had to have loads and loads of money. And I wanted to be a movie director.
Movie director. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Name 3 people you would like to share the stage with or would love to interview.
Brene Brown.
Oh, yes.
Michelle Obama.
Oh, yes.
And let's go big and say His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Awesome peeps. All right. If you could read one book over and over for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's a really good one. There's 2 of them. Can I put 2 in there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One is The Alchemist.
Oh, yes.
And the other one might be, I'm so corny, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And the third, because I'm just like that, would be Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak, one of my favorite children's books.
All right, awesome. I'm going to make. Well, I've got a recording, so I'm going to go back to all of this.
Wait, the other person I want to have the stage with is Amy Schumer for sure.
Amy Schumer. Oh my God, yeah, she is funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, hooray, we did this.
Okay.
And I think we deserve a wiggle and a dance. And you might be familiar with this song. We did it.
Hello.
I've got 3 kids, so I have heard this song over and over again for the past 18 years.
We're still in Baby Shark, and
you're still on Baby Shark.
Wheels on the Bus. Yeah,
it's moving towards Dora. You wait and see.
Sir. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the cheese and mac of this conversation. Claude, could you imagine that I'm holding a pair of gloves. Could you take these gloves and smash for me, and not my face, please, but some kind of work culture myth a bogus strategy, a misconception, and set the record straight once and for all?
A misconception is that people that are less experienced or might be called junior should not speak up. That would be the misconception, is that they are there to listen and take notes and don't really know what they're talking about quite yet.
Yeah. And what do you do instead? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in that room, if you're invited to that meeting, you're there to speak up, to take up space, to be curious about something, to add your POV, to add, to ask a question, whatever. And great ideas come from everywhere.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, don't need a college degree to have a great idea. You don't need to be in your 40s to have a great idea. You don't need to be in a certain department to have a great idea.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, don't put people down just because because of the title of their role.
Yeah, well, and don't put people in boxes.
Yeah, don't put people in boxes.
That's
Awesome.
really
And now, just a side note here for everyone, we are streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. And if for some reason the LinkedIn stream plays up, which it can sometimes, you can continue over at Facebook or YouTube. I will ask my assistant, who's also known as my son, Daniel, to drop the links in the comments. Daniel, why don't you quickly show your face to Claude as well?
Hi, Claude.
He's been my assistant, my right-hand man since he was a little boy.
I love it.
He actually filmed and photographed my very first speaking gig at age 14.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Look
So
at
proud
you.
of
Such an entrepreneur.
such
Natural entrepreneur.
It's so
All
good
right.
to meet you.
Make sure you drop the links in the comments. All right. Claude, for those of our viewers and listeners who've not heard of you, which is very unlikely, but still, could you briefly explain what does a Chief Heart Officer does, and most importantly, why do you do what you do?
Okay, well, I do what I do because I love people. I am kind of obsessed with everyone's ability to unlock, to find potential, and to be their best self. I think that's something I'm obsessed with. I am also very obsessed with the kind of the exquisite mess that we all are, and I say mess kindly. I really do, because it's not always easy being a human, is it?
No.
I think that we're magical creatures, and I love all of the pain and the pleasure and the journey. That's that.
Yeah.
And the other part is a Chief Heart Officer. So my role, my job description is to infuse empathy throughout the entire organization and impact every single employee. So we're about 900 people now.
Wow.
So my job is to have feelers out and know what the heartbeat is, not only of the culture, the company, but of the individuals. And so that requires me leaning in and being extremely high touch to ensure that I have that feel, I have that vibe. And that's, I speak to and listen to and hold space for many, many, many people a day, and certainly on a weekly basis. So I love it. I love the journey. I really, really do. And at the end of the day, we're a company. And so getting people to a place where they feel like they can unlock so that they can spread their wings and do great things in this company is only going to be great for our company as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, Vaynermedia is just one of those companies that we know of that who've changed and adopted to this culture where in the corporate world, it still does not exist. It's very much like, leave your life at home when you come to work. Don't bring the stress to work. Which is insane.
Yeah, that's a real myth that we need to bust with the gloves, because there is no separation between who we are today at home and who we are when we go in the office, other than the separation that we feel like we need to put on ourselves. The armor that we feel like we need to put on ourselves, because you just don't know what you're going to get when you walk in the door, and we need to dismantle that completely.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got such a huge team. You just said 900 plus. How do you know how your people are feeling? Do you have one-to-ones with them? Is it group sessions? And how do you manage it?
Yeah, so both. I do one-on-ones and group sessions. And then I have a team that scales me, that is overseeing their own departments of, 100, 200 people. My one-to-ones are 15 minutes. They're either proactively, I'm reaching out to people for a variety of reasons, whether or not I have an intuition about something. I heard that someone's struggling. I want to talk to all of the people that joined during COVID because I think that's extremely courageous and a surreal experience. Proactively, people reach out to me and want to get time with me, get to know me, want to talk through something. They don't see me necessarily as HR,
Right.
which is great. So they know that we're going to have a conversation about things that might not be policy driven, or certainly things that are off the record.
Yeah.
And then I have group sessions, and those are really a lot of I call them culture jam sessions. They're like where I get a variety of different people in from different departments, different geographies. We do icebreakers. We just have a chat. It's a half an hour. That's it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing all day long. And then I'm connecting with people, in leadership meetings, resourcing, operational meetings.
So, I mean, you guys, Vaynermedia works with a lot of companies. Do you see that this is usually the case with a lot of other companies as well? Is it, or, is it still not a norm to have these kind of, culture in the companies where, you're available for one-to-one support, even one-to-one support, which is not heard of from, top down?
Yeah, I don't see a lot of that. I mean, we're so high touch. Gary is accessible all the time. I'm accessible. That, giving people attention, give someone attention, it makes them feel seen and as though they matter, and it unlocks, serotonin in your brain, which you feel good, right? So
yeah.
I don't see a lot of that happening yet. My hope is that, as we change the face of certainly human resources, and as we change the face of leadership to encourage more empathetic leadership across the board, we start to see not only that happening, we'll see the effects of people in jobs, staying at jobs longer. Retention is a big deal, so it's something I'm proud of. We've got almost 80% retention right now. And
it is so great.
Yeah.
Quite unheard of.
That's pretty good. It's pretty awesome.
Okay, so I mean, my next question would be then, how do you help your team members build resilience and, like we spoke about, and cope with the ups and downs of work and life? As we talked about, that it's very hard to leave one thing for the other.
Well, we're real about it. What you see is what you get. I mean, I'm just the same me right now that I'll be in 3 hours that I was yesterday. That, I mean, we're very, I think, transparent and authentic about who we are and what we go through. The fact is like you're looking in on my living room right now, and I'm looking in on your living room right now. And there's a level of vulnerability there because we're all at home dealing with COVID and the pandemic, and we're having a shared experience.
Yeah.
Leaning in on the fact that we're having a shared experience and talking about that first and foremost is like, that's like table stakes. You have to be doing that. You have to be acknowledging what is. If you don't, you're living in some kind of fairyland, and no one is going to succeed in fairyland because it's not real. So so we talk about the real deal. We're very transparent about where we are as a company, where our finances are, where we want to be, the effects that COVID had on us, those types of things. So meeting people in an authentic place and meeting people where they are is key. Not where I am, where they are.
Where they are. I think I've often heard you in other videos talk about energy management. So that would be the same, what you've just spoken about, that it's about managing the energy of all the people coming into.
Yeah, that is part of what I mean by energy management. The other part of energy management is something that we all need to pay attention to right now, as so much of our life is on screen. And we all have that fatigue from being virtual all the time and on video camera. So that type of energy management is knowing to take a micro break and saying, okay, I'm gonna crush my work for the next 90 minutes, and then I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna walk away from my computer so I can cognitively just like chill. I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna get a breath of fresh air, I'm gonna go make a coffee. Because in the office, you get that disconnect by getting up, walking down the hall, going and get a coffee, going out for lunch. But at home, it's very rare that you do that.
Yeah. You have to actually. We all have reminders. I have reminders in my phone, like every 15 minutes, get up, stand up, or just move the body a bit.
Yeah, get up, stand up for your.
Shake it.
Exactly.
All right. With this huge team of 900 plus people, I'm sure that you must get into some hairy moments, just dealing with day-to-day stuff. What have you learned from those? Were there any surprises? How did you deal with it?
Well, I think what we're noticing now is that we've had COVID, we've had George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, the election in the States. Even just those 4 things, which are massive things that we've not seen in my lifetime, that shakes a person and a community to its core, and that brings up an enormous amount of anxiety. So I think what I've seen, to answer that question, is the need to really lean in and be providing mental health resources. And so, we're certainly not doctors at Vaynermedia, but we care about people, and so making sure that we are providing certain things that will at least alleviate some of that for people is really important. And that's we're in a very different day. Time. If you would have asked me a year ago what our people would need, it might have been a very different answer to you. Right now we have to remind people, as I was just saying, to take breaks. We have to remind people that it's essential to utilize some of these virtual workout programs that we have for them, or the mindfulness meditation. Every Monday and Friday they have meditation and those types of things. But also, I think more than anything, utilize the access that they have with Gary, or the access that they have with me, because 5 minutes with him will make you feel like you're on top of the world.
So you talked about you do one-to-ones and groups. So now that we've all gone virtual, is this still happening? Like you do Zoom calls?
Oh, all day long.
Oh, wow.
All day long. It's literally Google Hangout, Zoom, whatever, and it's 15 minute, half an hour calls.
So what's your process of training your workforce into the future leaders?
Well, we have a number of different things that we do. First and foremost, every single employee that's 900 plus has access to a life coaching platform called 𝐸. Every single person. It's a pretty phenomenal high performance life coaching system, and it's autonomous, and anonymous, I should say. And they can do their own thing. They meet with a coach. I know nothing about it. I only know who signs up. That's the first thing. We have a learning and development curriculum that there are certain trainings that we do at scale, whether or not that is management 101, leadership training, radical kind candor training, knowing how to give feedback. It's feedback training, presentation training. So we have the trainings we do for everyone. Unconscious bias, racism, anti-racism training, and then you have your niche, very specific trainings per department or per skill that you're in. So whether or not that's Photoshop, or learning how to do TikTok and ads on Instagram, those are very niche. I'm a massive believer, because it's true, that we're teaching both hard skills and we're teaching what people would call soft skills, which I call necessary life skills. I am convinced, and I know that is something that we teach. So empathy 101 is another thing. These are important. We want to look at the whole person, and we want to develop the whole person. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I think majority of the corporates are far, far from it. I mean, I'm just thinking back to my corporate years. No such thing existed. I'm not sure if it is now, but everybody's there to, I mean, or let's say there are programs there to train you for hard skill. Let's say you want to become a project manager, and they may send you on a project management course or something,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
but the soft skills, like you spoke about, the life skills that we as human need to learn, and not to become better, not only to become better at what we do, but also if we're aspiring to be a leader in the market.
Yes, of course. It's so important. There's enormous amounts that you can learn from osmosis and learn from example, and learn, by watching someone who's an inspiration to you. But there's real, practical, on the ground, on the job training that one needs. I don't think you just learn self-awareness. You live, you live into self-awareness by, studying yourself, asking questions, working with people that are having inquiry into you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, actually, I personally think that coaching should be part of, life coaching should be part of every single organization. It should be part of the, the training manual for all of them. It is a necessary skill.
Completely agree. And I really think that is the new face of human resources. I really do. I even posted something about it last night, I think, on LinkedIn. It's just essential. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, before today's live, I asked a couple of online communities that I'm in if they had any burning questions they wanted me to ask you. So here's one from Kira from the Peak community. She wants to know that more and more job seekers these days feel that they are much more than and different from what the job markets offer. How do you create jobs for such people?
Well, I think I'm trying to, I really want to reverse engineer that question. I'm not sure if you create jobs for those people other than you and your organization see a need for different roles that don't require, this skill, this skill, this skill. So jobs, for example, that are a little bit more ambiguous, and jobs, for example, that might be in the creative realm or the strategic realm, where you're studying human behavior. And so you might not necessarily need to have someone who is, a pro at Photoshop, but they really understand human behavior, and they want to, in the advertising world, really come up with some incredible concepts and campaigns to reach certain consumers out in the world. So I don't think it's necessarily, you're at the end of the day, you're a business. So you need to do things that are going to benefit your business. And then you find those people who are not cookie cutters and you bring them in.
Okay. So while we are talking about this, what is your recruitment process then? How do you check for the culture fit? Is it the first priority or the last?
So we hire for skill set fit and culture addition. That's a big change I made when I took the role 5 years ago. Rather than just doing culture fit, which culture fit is great. You want to be on a Greyhound bus with someone for 6 hours and talk about surfing and Pearl Jam. That's fantastic. But at the end of the, so you get a lot of people that like each other. But at the end of the day, you really need to be hiring for what it is that's going to propel your business and your client's business forward. So we hire for skill set fit, culture addition. And the skill set fit means that we are, there's a job description that we put out there, and we're looking to ensure that not only can you do the job, the skills of the job, but then the culture addition is that you bring us some different kinds of values. You bring us a different kind of diversity. And I mean holistic diversity, not just the obvious diversity. You bring us curiosity and things that we normally, maybe haven't thought about in the 11 years that we've been around. So anyway, we have a wonderful recruitment team. We do a lot of interview training internally that takes into consideration unconscious bias as well. And what we do is, we have some roles right now called creator roles. The creator roles, by the way, are usually being filled by 19, 20-year-olds that are, here hacking TikTok. That are doing
yes, that's right.
Way, I'm not doing, and certainly
I know my kids aren't doing it.
Exactly. So that's the kind of role we need, these types of minds and hearts. And to answer that earlier question, because we have these roles open, there are tons and tons of kids out there, just like your son, that do that role and then some. And that's how we bring them in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to quickly take a second to say hello to everybody. Kira is actually online here, the one who asked that question. Hey, Kira. Hey, Kaleem. And I think Kira she's asking, when can we start employing smart kids? I guess.
Now, yesterday.
There we go. Kaleem is asking, what's one of the biggest struggles that companies face when trying to scale a culture of empathy?
I think companies get in their own way. When you're to scale empathy, A, it needs to come from the top. B, you need to empower every single person to be part of the spreading and the scaling of empathy, of kindness, of compassion, of gratitude, of patience, of being the bigger person in every situation. As anyone that enters Vaynermedia goes through a 4-day orientation process together, whether or not you're in the C-suite, you're a junior copywriter, whatever it is, you're together for 4 days. In that first day, they're getting an hour with me when I'm saying to them, hey, guess what? You are now just as responsible for this culture as I am. They have ownership. They understand, they know that they've come into a culture where we pride ourselves on being good people, on being kind people, on being empathetic and collaborative people. That's why they're coming here, one of the reasons. So by giving them ownership to then be that kind person, that scales it right there. But you have to get out of your way. You have to have this, blessed and actioned by the top.
Yeah.
And for everyone that knows who my boss is, that's what he's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess youngsters starting there, it gives them such a good foundation as well. But then, what also might happen, you could probably speak more about it, is that if they start their career with Vaynermedia and maybe, 6-7 years later, they go on somewhere else and they find out, oh my God, the culture is like totally not the priority here, and our empathy, it does not exist. And it might just, might not work out for them at all, and actually might take them downhill. What has the experience been?
Well, that's funny. That's really, really a funny one because, people, like I was just saying, people want to be at Vaynermedia for a variety of reasons. A lot of the time, not only is it because of the great culture that we have, but it's also that we are, we're ahead of the curve. We're doing things that we have a very different approach to advertising and marketing that other companies have. We're an independent company. We're basically, it's Gary's world.
Yeah.
And, that's fantastic because we are there because we believe. Now, there are people that are going to leave Vaynermedia because they get another job, because they want to do something different. That's up to them. That just happens. Yeah. But I can tell you that 8 out of 10 people that leave write us emails and want to come back.
That's what I thought. So,
literally. So it's pretty amazing to get those emails that basically say like, hey, I thought the grass was greener.
Yeah.
But I'd love to come back, and then we go through that process.
Yeah. Lee agrees. He says, I agree fully. Leadership must be driven, supported, and role modeled from the top.
Yes. Absolutely. That's the way it can really be actioned.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, Claude, I can't pretend to know all about you as a person. So what should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
Oh my gosh. I guess, probably why is this work so important to me? That's probably a big one that I talk about here and there, and I probably think it's obvious, but it might not be obvious. I think other questions that are always interesting is like, how long did it take you to find your calling, or how many times have you failed?
Okay. Yeah, let's go with that.
Which one?
Yeah. How long did it take you to find your calling?
Yeah. So I've always been this person. I've always been that kind of like that player coach, champion of people, mentor. I wanted to be a psychotherapist. So I really, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm really all about the magic of humans and what's possible. I graduated college at 28. I spent a lot of time not in college and learning about myself and learning about different psychologies and spiritualities. And so when I finally got into the working world, it was 1998, and I was in San Francisco, and I got straight into the world of digital online. This was pre-Facebook, pre-Google, and I had a phenomenal career in content and marketing and advertising. And at the core of me, though, what really made me happy was working with teams, building resilient teams and collaborating and, jamming together and finding right together. And at some point, I was no longer interested in the business of advertising. I was no longer interested in, whether or not this was yellow, blue, or black. It didn't matter to me. And almost like the loyalty of a consumer didn't matter to me. But what mattered to me is the teams that put that together. So I had that calling a long time ago when I was at a very large agency living and working in London. But I pushed it aside because as I say, advertising was very good to me. Once I came to Vaynermedia and was working with Gary a year into my career, that's when I was done. And that's when I knew, and I said to him, I only care about people. I only care about the heartbeat of this place. And that's when I made an enormous pivot to only lean in 1,000% on doing this for a living. And had we not created this role, I would have probably started my own coaching company. And because it's magical to me. This is what I want to do.
So you just knew at that time that this is it. The time is now.
Yes, the time is now. I didn't want to waste another minute not doing what lights up my soul. I just didn't want to waste another minute.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Claude, as you know, this particular series we are delivering is called Impact 2.0. Could you share with our viewers and listeners maybe a story or a moment or an encounter that had a profound impact and changed the course of your life?
Yeah, sure.
Other than meeting Gary?
I would say I would go back to when I was 19. It's an experience I talk about often, which is my Outward Bound experience. I did not have a lot of options for myself when I was getting out of high school. In fact, I really, hindsight is 2020, but I wasn't prepared to go to college. In fact, I was on the waiting list. I applied to many colleges. I was declined, rejected, and then I got on the waiting list on one college, which I ended up going to. After my sophomore year, it was very apparent that I just wasn't ready for that type of institution, and I left. And I was kind of going nowhere fast. And I told my parents that I needed to go find the longest Outward Bound course. And I ended up finding a 93-day Outward Bound wilderness leadership course, which trained me to become a leader in the wilderness, to be able to lead people, with a backpack and a tarp.
You started very early on this journey in a way.
I started early. Thankfully, I started early. And that was 93 days. I was the only young woman, and I was with 9 young men for 93 days. We literally were able to take a shower every 18 days.
Oh, crap.
Yep. And I mean, that means if you found a lake to go swimming in, you were lucky. If you, there's no toilet paper out there. I mean,
that's right.
And that was the first time on that trip that I heard the term servant leadership.
All right.
And it really changed my life. It made me really reassess the path I was going down, which, as I said, I was going nowhere fast. And, upon completing and graduating from that course, I was a different person. I knew that I had leadership qualities, and I really just wanted to serve. I wanted to be of service. That was it.
Oh, wow.
It was a super pivotal moment. I've spoken a lot about it in different areas. And during that time, it was 1980, I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was 1991. It was the Loma Linda earthquake in San Francisco, which I watched during my first 18-day, the first time I got to take the shower. I was in a hotel room. I was drying my hair, and the World Series, the baseball World Series was on TV. And the San Francisco Giants playing the 𝐤𝐭'𝐬, and the earthquake hit. And I watched it happen on camera. And it really, well, it was like the start of my trajectory towards being of service and wanting to spend my time that way.
Wow. So it seems like it's like you always were on this path. It's just that instead of a straight path, you just zigzagged and eventually got there.
Yeah, I'm a zigzagger.
Yeah, zigzag. Yeah.
There's no straight line. There's
actually no one's life is a straight line, to be honest with you.
Like there's no straight line. And I was really, and I'm happy that there is no straight line, because I never would have survived a straight line.
And I think life would be a little boring if it was a straight line.
Yeah, predictable.
Predictable, isn't it? We love unpredictability.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Now, I know we're coming up towards the end of this groovy chat. So before I ask you to share a challenge with our viewers and listeners, I would like to ask you one more hypothetical question, which is, if you had $100 million to spend on making a meaningful impact in the world, how would you spend it?
A couple ways. I love that question. First and foremost, I would really, I would give a lot of my money to shelters where women are escaping and trying to heal from domestic violence. That's the first thing I would do. I would ensure that, you can see where my heart is. I would ensure that every single child had food. Every single child had food to eat.
Yeah.
And I would probably, with that said, I would probably create some kind of home. Maybe it's more of like a kibbutz, like a home where there was, gardening, farming, that people could live on the land, grow their own food.
Yeah.
I want to
sustain themselves.
And learn in a different way, because I think so much knowledge happens outside of the school. I think it happens in living. So, but really, I want to save the world. I want to take away people's pain and shame.
Yeah.
And I'm
you really are a people's person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Wolverine. Like,
that's a good analogy.
So I want to feed people. I want to give people safety and get them out of pain.
Yeah.
So
you want to protect them.
I want to protect them. Yeah. And then send them on their way so that they can go scale the message.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So, create mini Claudes. Yeah. Mini Claudes everywhere.
Whoever they want to be, but I'm on a mission to bring more tenderness into this world.
Oh, absolutely.
Remove fear. It's a huge one for me. And today is World Kindness Day.
All right.
So I think, you're going to ask me about the challenge in a moment, and you can imagine what my challenge will be.
All right. So let's get into this. All right. So it's that time of the interview for us, and you may be thinking, what is it? Gossip time, or share the fun pickup lines time, or tell an embarrassing joke time? Unfortunately, we're not that type of a show. Not yet anyway. But what it is time for is the 48-hour challenge time. So Claude, this is where I ask you to share what is that one thing that our viewers and listeners can implement in the next 48 hours that doesn't cost an arm and a leg or requires a large team to execute it.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. You can get on this platform, you can get on your text messages, you can get on Twitter, and you can text or reach out to 5 people, and I'm just talking 5 people today and tomorrow, 48 hours, to tell them that you are thinking of them. You don't want anything from them. I'm thinking of you. That's it. I'm thinking of you. I'm sending you love.
Simple.
Big hugs. Whatever it is, spread kindness, spread love, spread compassion. That's it.
That's it. Simple and easy. Now nobody can say we can't do it. We didn't have the time for it. You've heard her. You've heard Claude. Okay, especially the ones on the live.
Do it now. Do it
Do
now.
it now. Do it now. Exactly.
Do it now. Yeah.
Yes. Kaleem, Kira, everybody. Sumbul, Amy, everybody.
Yes.
Lee.
And back to you.
Back to me as well. All right. All right. So for those of us watching us live today, I heart you. I really do.
Thank you.
These lives wouldn't be fun without your support. So I'm truly grateful for your presence. And for more bite-sized takeaways of these conversations, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link for which, if I do have it, yes, it is here. Now, Claude, where can your fantabulous viewers and listeners find you or follow your content?
All right. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. You're pretty vocal on LinkedIn. You can go to my website, ClaudeSilver.com. And reach out. Tell me what's going on in your life.
What about Instagram? Are you active on Instagram?
Yeah. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the places that I'm most active. But I would say LinkedIn's probably the biggest. But Instagram's the prettiest, right?
Yeah, it's the prettiest. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Alrighty.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And Claude, thank you so much. I know you said you've got to go and have a chat with Gary. So do say hi to him for me as well, please.
I will. Well, everyone, thank you.
Right. Thank you for now.